All right, what's up, everybody? Paul Daner Jr., Charlie Goldsmith here with you. We are about to go into the world of predicting and discussing Bengals Jets. There's not a lot of people, even on this grand internet, willing to do this, Charlie, but we are. We care about Bengals Jets. It matters around here.
It's funny, and I'm Googling it now because I'd forgotten his name, but I saw an update today that the Jets starting corner was a guy whose name I'd never heard of and now can't remember again. So, well, Isaiah Oliver wasn't this guy, but Isaiah Oliver's on this team.
Yeah.
Brandon Stevens on the top tier of Bengals will put you under a spotlight and throw at you on the all-time Joe Burrow graveyard, if you will. This Jets team has some Trent Irwin. I mean, come on.
Lot of fun ties here. The Jets are 0-7. The Jets have been painfully bad, but guess what? That does not make the Bengals immune to highlighting their season with a disastrous L. There's no other way to term this, Charlie, other than this is the kind of real must win. This is when the must win armband really shows up. As much as last Thursday was, these are the ones that you can't lose. It's not the one that you need to win. It's the one that you can't lose. You cannot lose to the Jets when you're in a situation like this. Let me run down the basics for you here as we get through all of our things that get you set for Bengals Jets. That is a 1:00 kick at Paycor. It's a CBS game. Spiro Ditas, Adam Archuleta, Aditi Kinkobwala on the call for you there. Bengals are 6.5-point favorites here at home. The over-under is 44.5. That line feel right to you, Charlie? 6.5, Bengals by a touchdown.
I mean,
that feels about right.
I mean, my prediction. I'll give the score now. You know, my score was the Bengals by a touchdown. So but 7 points exactly. So that's about where I was at.
Right on it. The weather is looking nice. You have that going for you. High of 60, maybe a little cloudy, but no real rain expected. Ring of Honor game at Paycor. Congratulations to Dave Lapham and Lamar Parrish, who will be have their induction ceremony at halftime. So looking forward to that. Uniform, it's the Halloween calling, the black top, orange pants, black socks combo. Jay's not here to dive into the uniform history of their record in those games, so I'll leave that. I don't want to steal his thunder on that. The one thing that Jay did drop earlier this week that is worth repeating here, and I still can't really believe, and this is where the nickname Jay Morbidson has been put on to him to pair with Paul Downer Jr., that is that the Bengals are 0-9-1 on games following a Thursday night. Wow. When they have Thursday night games, they are 0-9-1 afterwards, and that is including a bunch of games in recent years. So trying to break the trend on that one, but the Sharps are maybe keeping their eyes on that. The Jets.
I have a quick question. Are the orange pants still cursed? Where are we at on that? I've lost track of that storyline.
I don't know that they're cursed. I think that the full orange feels very cursed and that it should never return again. At this point, when you go New England to Burrow to back to back, I think that's the end of open and orange. We have the Jets at 0-7. They lost a 13-6 game last week to Carolina and 13-11 the previous week against Denver. That was in London. They had a negative passing yards in that game somehow. Truly unwatchable stuff, even on the international stage. They have 6 straight games not scoring more than 27, and the Bengals have 6 straight games allowing at least 27. Something's got to give on Sunday. Let's injuries news. We've got Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson he's in the will see questionable stage, but there's been positive talk about him in the run up to this game, but still questionable with a will see tag from Zach Taylor. Marco Wilson, Cam Sample, Matt Lee, all listed as doubtful. Cam Taylor-Britt, who was inactive last week, Zach Taylor says had a good week, in a good headspace, expecting him back. It looks like we'll see if the motivational ploy, Charlie, on Cam Taylor-Britt ends up being successful. Do you feel optimistic about that?
The question I'd really like to know the answer to was, would Cam Taylor-Britt still be active? He'll probably be active this week. Would that still be the case if Marco Wilson were available?
Yeah.
Because theoretically, like where your fifth corner would slot in would be special teams, which Marco's not giving you either, but then packages. And we've seen packages where Marco Wilson, man to man, he does stuff. Where is Cam at in a sub-package special teams now role is very interesting to me. How is he handling that? How is he picking that up? Learning that obviously different types of responsibilities than he had a corner, but the Marco Wilson injury certainly opens up that spot on the depth chart. I'm also interested to see what they do on the edge. Even if Trey plays, he's probably not playing 80% of the snaps. Well, now Cam Samples doubtful. You're a little light on the edge. Do you elevate Isaiah Foskey again? Do you go 5 defensive tackles instead, even though 3 of them would be nose tackles and they have too many nose tackles? These are the decisions that will have the coaches up, or they decide this Saturday morning, whenever they do that, have them debated.
When will we get Foskey time, Charlie? We need Foskey reps. Let him save your season.
Well, now it's said Johnson's the guy. He's the guy that everyone's clamoring for, shall I say.
Yeah. And we'll see how long that clamoring continues. On the Jets side of things, more notable injury report. Sauce Gardner, nope. Garrett Wilson, nope. So neither of the two, the year of the rookies of the year combo from the Jets that have really become the foundation of their team will not be participating. Sauce not making the return to Cincinnati, facing up with Jamar Chase in what would have been a very anticipated matchup. So some of those names that you mentioned earlier, Charlie, will be trying to slow down Flacco, Higgins, Chase, and company, which is obviously not great for what has been a really good Jets defense on a really bad team. Starting quarterback for the Jets, by the way, still, as I speak right now, not announced or known. Aaron Glenn really playing the smoke and mirrors on whether it's going to be Justin Fields or Tyrod Taylor, I suppose.
I just wish Jay were here so he could tell us the percentage of times that the quarterback who the owner just trashed has started the previous game. It's got to be 90%, 95. It should be 100%. If the owner trashes you, automatic benching. But we'll see if the Jets buck that trend this week.
Yes, it's not pretty in any way, shape, or form for the Jets offensively. I will pinch hit for Jay on the referee report this week. Scott Novak will be on the white hat. He is in the mid-level, so not super flag heavy, not tight with the flags. You're going to get right in the middle, just where we like to live. We had that long run of every single week. It seemed like we were getting the flag-happy crew. Nice and middle spot for Scott Novak. So I've got high hopes for that one. Charlie, let's get into the stat that matters most in this one. What is that for you?
My stat that mattered most, very analytical. I counted 5 frustration claps from Shamar Stewart in 22 snaps last week. Shamar had a bad game. This has to be the game where the defensive line behind Trey Hendrickson starts to show at least the potential to pop against inferior competition when you look at how the Jets offensive line has performed and then how sackable their quarterbacks have been. Shamar has some technical stuff to correct. Miles just has to wind it up and go. He's had some promising moments, but you'd like to see that start to translate more consistently. Chris Jenkins is a guy you just need to see something from. Do they have any pass rush without Trey Hendrickson? Last week suggested no, but if Hendrickson's back and he can open some things up for the other guys, then you really do need to see that translate, or else the Bengals do have no pass rush without Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah, if you can't rush against these guys, you can't rush against anybody. The Jets are dead last in the NFL in pressure rate allowed of 48%, pressures per game at 18, and sacks per game at 4.4. They are the worst offensive line in the NFL, bar none, to pass rush against. It's been dreadful, and their quarterbacks field specifically has not helped them in terms of being unable to get rid of the ball and do all those things that can help. For a group of young players that confidence, developing confidence, is kind of at the top of the line of what you're looking for. This could be like when other offensive coordinators look at playing the Bengals defense. Oh man, here we go. Let's get some confidence in the guys. Some get right is going to happen. You have to feel like right in this spot, man, if you could do that, if you could get a sack and a half from Miles and Shamar and a sack for Chris Jenkins and some of those things that they maybe need to get them believing in themselves, even though it is against low competition. They need that, not just to win this game, but in the big picture of this season, because as we saw against Pittsburgh, that lack of pass rush is an absolute fatal flaw in this team going forward.
Something I do every week is I sum up the drive enders from each game. How did drives end? And for the Bengals defense, it was literally all DJ Turner on all of their stops except for one, which was the DJ Abbey pass breakup. But that shouldn't have even been a stop because there was a busted coverage. I believe Dax Hill should have been deeper down the sideline. Roman Wilson, I want to say, uncovered. Aaron Rodgers could have just had a 60-yard touchdown there. So, it was a DJ Turner defense. He needs help. Are the Bengals capable of giving DJ Turner and Trey Hendrickson, when he's back, any help? Are there individual players correcting the techniques, getting the details, the discipline, playmaking? They just need that to translate because they haven't had anywhere near enough of that.
I would add, and this is always the case when anybody's playing a team that is where the Jets are at 0-7, getting up early, putting them behind early, making them believe, oh, here we go again. They've got they're beset by injuries. Had a ton of guys on their injury report. I mentioned Sauce and Garrett Wilson, but you make them think that this is going to be another long day, and don't give them hope that this could be the time they get off this schneid at 0-7, and you will put them away. This is not going to be a team that's going to come back on you. They just need to get up quickly.
I thought you were going special teams with that, so I looked it up. You know who their punter is? You remember Austin McNamara, the first loser of last year's three-pronged punting battle? He's their punter.
Oh, man. It's unbelievable. Really, too many connections. Rico and McNamara together again.
That's right.
Yeah, it's what it's all about. Maybe Brad Robbins is just going to show up just to hang out and just to see everybody, just to talk shop. Growler bet this week. We've mentioned it on a couple episodes already, so I won't go too deep into it again. Send your submissions to the Growler Podcast at gmail.com with Jets passing yards. The Jets are worst in the NFL in passing yards per game. The Bengals, as you know, not great at stopping it. Where does that number land? Send that in to us and win drinks on me at one of our next live shows. Okay. Prediction from you, Charlie. What do you got? What do you think?
I have the Bengals winning 21-14. I think the Jets' run game and their screen game, and I think there's enough there to capitalize on the Bengals' defense that's shown that it's just going to keep making at least a few mistakes a game. But on the whole, 14 points, I think the Jets are going to earn those. I think they'll have some long drives. I think they'll probably try to be aggressive and go for it on some fourth downs. It could even be a game where, it's a high yardage total, but a lower point total because of the Jets and what they do in, low in Bengals territory. But I have the Bengals offense coming back to earth a bit, but taking advantage of a Jets offense that has nothing going. And then probably the Bengals kind of packing it in like they did in Cleveland and just trying to get out of town and live to fight another day.
Yeah, I think there's, enough positive momentum coming from what happened against Pittsburgh to believe that even against a pretty good Jets defense, but man, the fall off when you don't have Sauce is significant for them, especially when they're trying to match up against these Bengals receivers. I just think Flacco is going to be able to continue to take advantage of that, getting the ball, just putting it in their hands, and they're without Sauce to counter it. They're just going to have so many quick wins in those one-on-ones on the outside that we've seen them really take advantage of over the last 6 quarters for the Bengals offensively. So I think they score. I think they move the ball. I think the Jets defense will be impactful, but I think it's going to be more in the holding them to field goals situation. So I have another round of field goals for Evan, but I have them I have them winning 26-17. I don't think the Bengals defense is in a place to shut down anybody, even the Jets at this point. So I think that they find a way to get some points, but 26-17 is my final game. Bengals win and cover at home on a Ring of Honor day. And tell Jay Morrison and his stats they can go kick rocks. Okay. Buck the after Thursday night football trend is what they're going to do. That's going to be the motto of the week. It's going to get a mention in the Zach
Yeah,
Taylor
you
post
remember
game.
it's funny, because the GOAT story, that the greatest of all time story that you're alluding to, is after Buffalo, Zach's like, no one had ever won whatever this specific scenario was. And now to try to get that back, no one has ever done it. Well, all you did was beat the winless Jets, but still, you got to
But
start
still,
somewhere
no one
as
had
they
done it.
rebuild everything. As they
As they
rebuild
rebuild
everything, you're starting with small victories.
a win here, back to 500, unbelievably, 4-4. A Bears team on deck. We'll see. They are playing the Ravens with Lamar Jackson back. We'll see. There'll be an interesting game with some interest for Bengals fans to keep an eye on, and then a bye week and a chance if they could do that to go into a bye week where they always seem to go into a bye week
That's
at
right.
5-4. It just seems to be kind of automatic almost anymore. But we'll see where that goes. That has to start with beating the Jets on Sunday in a not a must-win game, a can't-lose game here on Sunday against the Jets. All right, Charlie, appreciate it. Great to have you checking in. I look forward to catching back up with you in the walkout from Paycor on Sunday. So thanks, everybody, for listening and for watching, and we'll talk to you Sunday evening. Have a good one.